My name is Dee Mulrooney, and I'm an artist living and an Irish artist living and working in Berlin. And I use art as medicine primarily, linked to my experience being a woman walking the planet at this time.
And what's your relationship right now with perimenopause and menopause?
Well, it has been in the background, kind of lurking in there, kind of wanting attention for a few years. And when I came across yourself, online last year introducing Harvest Moon, it immediately resonated because I wanted to um, explore this topic more. I would be pretty asymptomatic, but I know that I'm in the age category. And I felt like it was really vitally important that I kind of armed myself with as
Mm,
much information and community as possible before I entered this part of my life, because I didn't have that during menarche.
yeah.
Being a child of the 70s and 80s, and most of my peers now who will be going into this phase also, we weren't initiated into menarche. It was a dirty secret in a brown paper bag at the back of your wardrobe,
Yeah.
and certainly in Catholic Ireland, and I know in lots of places of the world, not just Ireland. So for me, like, this universal experience uh, seemed to be universally hidden, actually, for our age group. And I'm damned if I'm going into this next seriously magnificent time of my life without the information and the community around me. So I feel like I was so glad that I'm so delighted that I did the course. Because it also just opened me up energetically to this part of my life and to this questioning, and then to starting to share, because once you start doing things like this, once you start doing courses like this, then you start to share it with your peers around you, and then the conversations naturally start to happen. That's just the way it works.
Mm,
Communities of women, circles of women. So for me, it's a vital kind of next step, you know.
yeah. Brilliant. So for
And
anybody watching,
for those who don't know, you now on my page.
so yeah, for those who don't know me, my name's Beth Wallace, also Irish, but also not living in Ireland. I live in Granada in Spain. And so I'm an applied psychology graduate and psychotherapist, and I've been working in the field of relationships, sex, and sexuality for 35 years this year, in personal and community development. So, and my relationship with perimenopause is I'm a postmenopausal woman. I'm about 4 years postmenopausal. And my perimenopause, so the period of years before menopause, before periods actually stopped, it was awful. It was absolutely awful. And the thing is, like, I know a lot about how the female body works. I know a lot more than most people about how the female body works, particularly when it comes to sex and sexuality and reproduction. And I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what actually ended up happening could happen. I didn't know I would feel depressed. I didn't know that my genitals would change so much. I didn't know that my experience of sex would change in the way it did. And so I just think it's really important. If someone like me can be blindsided with all of the information and training and practice that I have, if I can be blindsided by that experience, then women who don't have that knowledge and training can be really blindsided by it. And I see in a lot of my couples, a lot of the couples that I work with, and a lot of the women who are over kind of 43 that I work with, they're experiencing perimenopausal symptoms. It's impacting their intimate relationships and it's impacting their experience of their sexuality. And they don't know what to do about that. And they're terrified and they don't know how to talk to their partner about, well, this is what's happening in my body. What are we going to do about this? Because this is going to affect our sex life. This isn't a problem for one person. It's an issue that arises in relationships. And so I thought somebody needs to be talking about this, not in a kind of purely medical way, but in a way that's real in terms of people's relationships and relationship with their sexuality and their bodies.
I think as
That's
well, just speaking to that a little bit, women, not even certainly for me before I did the course, and before I started delving deeper with yourself, I didn't even know that some of the symptoms were perimenopausal symptoms.
yeah,
The one of the middle-aged woman not giving the flying fizz anymore, and that being linked to how estrogen changes in your body and stuff like that. Like,
exactly.
that for me was a real eye opener.
Yeah.
And also this idea of giving birth to yourself, and um different archetypes and stuff like that. For me, it's just a really rich field, actually,
Mm,
that needn't be so daunting.
yeah.
um
That's the
i'm
thing.
excited I'm excited about it now, actually. I'm not like, it's not the thing that it was even a year ago. So I feel like I'd love to be able to just impart that to women.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot of fear, around, oh my God, my libido is going to just go through the floor. It's going to be the end of sex. I'm going to turn into, a dried up old woman. It doesn't need to be like that. And the fear around how it changes sex and our sense of our relationship with our own sexuality doesn't need to be like that. But what's really important is that women start preparing for perimenopause and menopause in enough time. So ideally, I would suggest that any woman over 40 should be starting to, any woman around her 40th birthday should be starting to think about, well, what am I looking at now for the next kind of 15 or so years of my life? Just like we prepare nowadays, it's more likely that we would prepare young women for their first menstruation. Here's what's going to happen. Here's what's going on in your body. Here's the cycle. We need to do the same for women at the other end of their reproductive years. And that's what, for me, that's one of the really important parts of Harvest Moon. So there's the kind of the information aspect. This is what might happen. Here are some things that we can do that will support women to have a much better, more empowered experience of perimenopause and menopause. And then there's the kind of the connection and the community that comes from simply sharing with other women. Here's what's going on for me. Here's how I'm feeling. Are you feeling that? What are you doing about that? How's that working for you? And women's circles do that by their very nature anyway. You get a group of women in a circle sharing about the reality and the truth of their lives, and that always feels good.
Yeah, absolutely. So what can women expect then if they come to our circle, our gathering?
Yeah, I mean, I would like to think that women would leave at the end of the evening feeling unafraid of what's coming or what's already started, feeling like they have other women who live near them who are experiencing something similar. They're not on their own. Some kind of strange thing that might be happening in their body, it's actually maybe normal, maybe completely normal. I think I would love to see space for both laughter and sacredness. So, and I think the two of those can live right beside each other. So that we will be reverent, we'll be respectful, we'll have sacred space, but we will also have fun and enjoy the evening. For me, I think pleasure is really, really important in our lives as human beings. I think pleasure is really important, but I think especially for women, as our estrogen starts to drop, our experience of what's pleasurable and sensual in the body changes. And so one of the main component parts for me when I work with perimenopausal and menopausal women is, where else are you experiencing pleasure, like succulent pleasure in your life? And one of the ways we can do that is through food. And so there will be a beautiful supper in the evening. And I really want to, some people view food as just fuel for life. For other people, there is pleasure in it. And I would love to have that, I'd love to share that experience of, we can experience and bring sensual pleasure to the body once estrogen levels start to drop, in ways other than sex, or ways that can be added to sex.
Yeah. And also it's going to be a lovely time of year for cozying down and being together in circle, creating a beautiful space.
Yeah.
And for me, I would love that women, when they come, that they feel nurtured and nourished, and that it's a safe space to be able to share where they're at and what they're going through. And like you said, to hopefully start to build a little community around themselves and to make connections with other women.
Yeah. Exactly. So it's on Saturday, the 12th of November from 3 in the afternoon until 8 in the evening. And sort of roughly what part of Berlin is it in?
South Berlin. It's it's very close to the ring, so it's easy to get to.
Yeah.
South central Berlin.
Okay. Yeah. And we'll send out to anybody who books, we'll send out the exact location.
The exact address. Beforehand. Yeah.
Is there anything else that you feel is important to share with the women in your community in Berlin about the circle?
It's that coming together and telling stories, that naturally arises when women get together, that I'm looking forward to. And I held women's circles here for 3 years in this space in my home in Berlin, and I have just when I fish back into those memories, it's very warm and womby. And it was a time in my life that I felt holding the space really kind of nourished me and the women around me, and that they made beautiful connections. And it was a cycle. It was a commitment that I'd made for a certain amount of time, and then COVID happened, and then it just kind of fell away naturally, and that's nice. But this feels like it's a very kind of is it pertinent? Pertinent is probably the right word for where I'm at. So I'm really looking forward to it. Really, really looking forward to it.
Yeah. And I love the time of year as well. You know, for me, I deliberately, called it Harvest Moon, because for me, you know, the moon is very much associated for many women with their menstrual cycle. And for me, this time of life is about harvesting everything that, you know, we've learned through childhood, adolescence, adulthood. What can we harvest from that allows us have a really rich period of time after that, for however long that is. So there's and it's harvest time of year.
Exactly. And harvesting all those moons that we cycled with, you know?
Yeah.
Like that experience is embodied now. It's not like it just disappears. And I think that that's a beautiful thing to look at it as the next stage.
Yeah.
It's an ending, but it's very much a beginning. And I'm meeting now, it's like as though, you know, when you're thinking about getting a dog, you see loads of dogs. Or when you're pregnant, you see loads of pregnant women. Or, you know, these things that happen in your life. It feels like now that I'm just attracting all these kind of baby crones or perimenopausal women that are just all of a sudden it's opening up, and it feels far from a desert. Let me tell you, it feels like it's going to be an abundant land that I'm just really excited about. You know.
Yeah, and for me, there's something, because as a therapist, I very much lean towards kind of Carl Jung's work, kind of around archetypes and unconscious and the unconscious collective and shadow and all that sort of stuff. And for me, there is something about being consciously aware of what it is that we're harvesting from our life so far, in order to have as much conscious empowerment around the next stage of life. Because if we're if we're ignoring those parts of ourselves that we don't like or that we're afraid of, if we're ignoring what we've exiled in life up until now, it will come and bite us on the ass at this point in life. At some time in our 40s or 50s, that which we have exiled will pop up somewhere in our lives and say, hey, I haven't gone away. I'm still here. What are you going to do with me? And so the more conscious awareness we can bring to that process, the far easier it's going to be. And we can actually, you know, we can use it to have a much better experience of the next chapter of our lives.
It's a celebration as well, you know?
Yeah.
It's a celebration of our cyclical nature. I think it's just amazing that we get to experience all this in one body.
Yeah.
You know, all essentially all four seasons, the whole cycle of life while we're still alive, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
We get to our monthly cycle is, you know, has all seasons, and then our actual life cycle as well, you know? So for me, it's definitely like it's a death of one part and simultaneously a rebirth of another part.
Yeah, beautiful. That's a perfect place to end our video, I think. And if people want to book, they can contact either of us. But ideally, if you want to book, contact me at info at bethwallace.org, and I'll put that up in text on the bottom of the video.
Yeah.
And spaces are limited.
Yes,
spaces are limited. So if women want to come along, and the event is open to any woman over 40 and any woman who's within a couple of years of her menopause. So for example, if she had her last bleed 2 years ago, she's welcome to come along. And any religion, any spiritual belief or none, any woman who's got perimenopause in her future or recent past is welcome to join us.
Yeah, great. And we'll also put all the information in the text underneath the video.
Perfect.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks.
So looking forward to Harvest Moon in Berlin. Can't wait.